Well, greetings and salutations, one and all, to another fun-filled episode of the Super Review Show's Mixed Bag, coming to you live once again from many caves and many states as always. I am joined by the incredible star-filled panel of the Super Review Show, Bill and Allie. What's going on, guys?
How you doing, folks?
Hi. By the
So,
way, Justin's here.
yes,
So,
Justin
Unfortunately,
is here in spirits.
Justin couldn't be here with us tonight, so
I had
Yep.
to bring the 2-0.
we got Justin 2-0. And first of all, JT,
What's that, Bill?
we the best
Oh my
podcast,
gosh. We're doing this again, even though I'm
podcast.
in another state.
but we're
So,
still the best podcast.
Allie is doing this from a cave far, far away, so don't worry. But she's still part of our crew here, and we
So-
love having
Yes,
her.
I literally live in the Shrek franchise far, far away.
So anyway, for those of you wondering what happened last week, we were doing the show and we were just at the tail end.
Yep.
And there was just a really bad storm where JT and I live, and we both lost power.
Yes, we apologize for not having a show last week. We can redo that topic another time, but tonight's topic, Bill, is
Well, since tomorrow is the 4th of July
in the United States.
in the US, and I just want to say, Monday was Canada Day, so to all of our Canadian viewers,
Oh, Canada.
Your baseball team sucks, though. Sorry.
we hope you had a wonderful Canada Day from your neighbors to the south.
By the way,
Yes.
Edmonton should have won.
Yes,
Oh,
agreed.
yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? But tomorrow is the 4th of July. It's America's birthday. So everyone, please stand for the national anthem. Da, na, 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 na.
I would rather kneel.
What was that?
I'll kneel. I'll take a knee for those.
Hey, have you ever seen that South Park episode? Dad, do whatever. J.J. Abrams has saved America.
Oh my God. So
Um,
basically, no, but on tonight's podcast, on tonight our show that will be debuting on, well, that will have been debuted on podcast form by the time this is uploaded. But you're celebrating July 4th, the Independence Day here in America. As to all of our podcast listeners around the world, we love you too. Don't get us wrong. But well, but as the title of this episode suggests, alludes to, whatever, we're going to be discussing, just breaking down, just a casual discussion on our favorite like war movies or our favorite movies in general. Like we were talking about this before, and I was like, let's talk about some Saving Private Ryan. Let's talk about some Glory. Let's talk about like Lincoln.
Well, just
stuff like that along the
stuff
way.
that's, stuff that
Baseball.
shows the spirit of America.
Yep.
The other
Whether that's
dreams.
on movie, on TV, or on stage.
Yep.
So
where do we want to start? Allie, why don't we start with you? What do you got?
I'm going Hamilton. I mean, I'm not throwing away my shot now, are we?
Hamilton,
Still
the
running.
musical.
Almost 10 years strong. Lin-Manuel Miranda decided to do a telling of the one and only Alexander Hamilton.
I have
and how
not seen it.
And how he helped with American history. And let's just put it this way, it's still going strong. Pretty much a Tony-winning Best Musical. Disney Plus had done a recording of this. I've seen this probably during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's not just a white version. It's like a mixed race version of Hamilton. Every one of them singing, rapping, dancing, not throwing away their shots.
So, and because you know what? That shows the spirit of America, that America is diverse. America is. And that's what's so great about this country. And it's just different, not just different races, but different styles of music.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So, Allie, what's your favorite song from Hamilton?
I mean, I don't know. That's a toughie.
You know what mine is?
What?
One Last Time.
Oh,
For those of you who don't know the story of that song, it's a part when George Washington calls Alexander Hamilton into his office. And it's goes, I need a favor. And then he goes, whatever you say, sir. It goes, at first says, hey, Jefferson started it because Thomas Jefferson was Washington's Secretary of State. Jefferson will pay for this behavior. Goes, shh, talk less. And then he goes, I need you to draft an address. And he's thinking he's going to do it to blast Thomas Jefferson. And then George Washington goes, Thomas Jefferson resigned this morning. And then he goes, and then he said, Thomas Jefferson stepped down so he could run for president. And that address, and then Hamilton goes, oh, good luck beating you, sir. He goes, I'm not running for president. And that address that he asked him to write is his farewell address. And it's such a heartbreaking, it's kind of heartbreaking at the same time. You're seeing history. You're seeing what Washington wanted this country to be. He didn't want it to be the UK. He didn't want it to be. Oh, by the way, UK elections are tomorrow. So if we have any listeners in the UK, don't forget to go out and vote.
Word.
But anyway, but he is imagining what he wanted this republic to be. That he wanted the president to serve 2 terms.
And only 2 terms.
It wasn't officially a law until 1955 with the passing of the 22nd Amendment after FDR served 4 terms.
Well, during a war, of course, but yeah.
And then he said, and then that whole one last time. They will hear from me one last time, and they will teach them how to say goodbye. And then, because Hamilton and Washington have been through so much together. And this was sort of like, where's Hamilton going to go now without Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I also say, Ali and JT? Some people would say, oh, this is just dumbing down history for the youth. Unlike us smart people, we can understand people reading this in a British accent. We're so brilliant. No, it's not dumbing down history, you stuck-up snobs.
This is a retelling of history.
Sometimes people need history told in different ways. They're not ruining it. They're not dumbing it down. They're making it relatable. Like if you listen to some British guy reading this book, young people are going to go, oh my God, just shoot me.
Unless it's David Attenborough.
Unless it is David Attenborough. But no, they want it. This is going to a level where people can understand it and maybe it would interest them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have not seen it personally. I mean, I'm not telling you where we are, but we are in the New York area of New York, right within radius of New York City.
It's on Disney Plus, JT.
And tickets are impossible to get, by the way.
Yes. We might as well watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, just watch it on Disney Plus.
Hey, why not,
I remember when it first came out, people were like, if you were to get tickets, you would be on the waiting list for like a year or 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
Still is, as far as I know.
Anything else to say, Allie?
Don't throw away your socks. That's all.
And one last time, they'll hear from us.
We'll keep telling the story of America.
And of course, okay, this is, and I just want to say no offense to our listeners in the great state of New Jersey. We love you. I love that part when they're about to duel and they go, we're dueling in New Jersey. Is it legal there? Everything is legal in New Jersey. You'll be back. And then you'll see.
Honestly, that's my favorite parts and moments as the King George songs.
That he'll be back.
He'll be back
again.
Tomorrow you belong to me.
Yep.
All right, so that's Hamilton.
There's our first pick by Allie. You want to keep going with Allie, or want to go? Why don't we jump over to Bill for a second?
Let's go to Bill.
Bill, what is your first thing that you love about America, and in our discussion of movies, TV shows, etc.?
Okay, since we covered Revolutionary War stuff, I think it's time we go to Civil War. I'm thinking the movie Lincoln.
Oh yes.
Great pick. The Stevens, no, not Steven Spielberg. The one
It
with
is Spielberg,
It's
yes.
Spielberg,
It is
Daniel Day-Lewis being Abraham
Thank you.
Lincoln.
And
I
you know
forgot.
what?
Thank you.
Just an interesting thing. Daniel Day-Lewis has an Oscar for each one of his names.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
He has 3 Oscars, and he has 3 names.
That's
Oh.
incredible.
And you know what the most Okay, this is, I don't want to say it's a biopic of Lincoln. This is like the last months of Lincoln's life.
Until he just got shot, yeah.
Leading up to the passage of the 13th Amendment,
Yes.
which was the amendment that abolished slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the beginning of the film, I remember he's at a battle site, and he runs into these 2 guys going, "Oh, we were at the Gettysburg Address. We heard you speak." And they do the 7 years ago, our forefathers buried upon this continent conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we're engaged in a great civil war, and then I remember because he's talking to 2 black soldiers, and then when those 2 white soldiers go away, he goes, "What was that last line of the speech?" And then the soldier says that last line. When he said that the idea of life, liberty, I can't remember the last line, but that a government for the people, by the people, and of the people should not perish from this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's about those leading up to the passing of the 13th Amendment. And what's so great about this movie is we see Lincoln the man, not Lincoln the myth.
Yeah.
But isn't he Lincoln the legend?
Or Lincoln the legend. And what I mean by that is we don't see the 407 years ago.
Yeah, top at Lincoln.
We see he kind of talks like this. He's very soft spoken, and he's talking about there are times that he just goes off on like random speeches. And one of my favorite scenes in this movie is there was just a great battle. Many people are dead, and they're trying to get the news in. And one of the head people in there, and Abraham Lincoln goes, "This kind of reminds me of a story of a great American hero, Ethan Allen." Oh no, I know that face. He's gonna tell a story. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But we see Lincoln trying to talk to some people, because now the 13th Amendment has to go through Congress. And now, he has to go through Congress, and he's talking to some of these congressmen who are kind of on the fence about it. And there is this one, and he said, "Listen, I am against slavery. I think it's a disgusting institution, but I don't think we're ready for full emancipation." And because if anyone knows their history about Lincoln, when he first ran, he just wanted to stop slavery from spreading. But then when the Emancipation Proclamation happened, he goes, "You know what? We got to get rid of it entirely." And then that congressman is going on saying, "Before you know it, they're going to be able to vote," meaning African Americans. And then when Lincoln's trying to persuade him, he's like, And he says, listen, you said they're going to be able to vote. Isn't that a good thing? And then when it comes to the election to the day they vote in Congress, it was that congressman, when they get to him to vote, he's like, how does the gentleman vote? He goes, he goes, what was that? He goes, I said I. And the whole place burst out into applause, and the people who are voting against him goes, traitor, traitor. And then these two other people goes, nah, he goes, you know what? Shoot me dead. I. And then he goes, shoot me dead too. I. And they go, oh, we abstain because they're afraid of getting, booed by their colleagues. Which, come on, show some damn courage, would you? And you thought politicians today were spineless. But anyway,
politicians everywhere have been spineless.
But anyway, like right before the election of the 13th Amendment, the ratification, a bunch of African American folk walk into the viewing chamber, and the speaker looked up and said, for the first time in American history, may he say, welcome to your house. And then, the 13th Amendment's passing, and then it fast forwards to months later, the Civil War ends. And then, unfortunately, we know what happened 5 days later. Lincoln shot and killed. So, you guys saw the movie. What did you think of it?
It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, but it's
been a long time.
Phenomenal.
And, there was a part that after he shot, they show him saying he belongs to the ages now, which is when they said when he died, he belongs to the ages. And then they do a flashback to his second inaugural address, which I think these words are actually very relevant to today. And listen, I'm not getting political, but I think these words are very relevant to today. With malice towards none and charity for all, let us retake the steps now to rebuild the divided nation.
Not wrong.
Nope.
So what I like about this movie, again, it's Lincoln the man, not Lincoln the legend, not the 77 years ago. It's really, and like, listen, this isn't like Abraham Lincoln was born in, no. This is the last months of his life when he's trying to pass the 13th Amendment. So anyone have anything else to say on this?
No, I'm good.
All right, J-Man, hit us.
All righty, kids. You all ready for this?
So
currently, as I am making sure our stream is functioning accordingly and whatnot too, I'm also keeping track of the baseball score for the Yankees and Reds right now. Sorry, I'm doing two multitasking.
I guess that is patriotic, talking about the Yankees.
Yes, it is.
We're going to be there tomorrow.
We're going down there tomorrow. We're going to go visit and see the Yankees play against the Cincinnati Reds. And by the way, Bill, unfortunately, they're losing 3-0. Just want to let you know right now.
Damn.
Oh, but you know what's the most important thing tomorrow is?
What?
The hot dog eating contest.
Oh, that's true.
Coney Island. You guys should go to Coney Island before you go to the Bronx. Leave tonight. Get your seats. Unfortunately, Joey Chestnut's not competing anymore.
Bummer.
But you know what? What's a better way to celebrate America's birthday than going to see America's pastime?
Of course. And what better? There's a couple movies we could talk about. One we haven't really discussed a lot on here is Bull Durham.
Haven't seen it.
You haven't seen? Oh my God. You drive me loco.
I thought you were going to say Field of Dreams.
I'm going to say that next, but I want to go to this one first. This section, both are great.
We'll go to that one next.
So Bull Durham is the 1988 movie with Kevin Costner and Susan Sarandon. There are so many great lines in this movie, and it's a comedy with baseball. It's actually really funny. I love this movie to death. I love it more than I thought I did initially. Because when you're watching a movie as a kid, you're like, all right, whatever. But like, then you sit down and watch it when you're older, and you're like, oh, you notice that like different things. You notice different elements of the movie and stuff like that too. Thank you, Mark Sun, for jumping in the chat board. By the way, I appreciate it. We'll get to your comments in a minute. But Boulder, because we do the show live, everyone. We do the show live on YouTube Wednesday nights EST. But yeah. Anyways, I digress. Bull Durham is one of those movies you just gotta enjoy it. I mean, it's a classic baseball movie. It's one of the best baseball movies out there, in my opinion. Next to Field of Dreams, next to The Natural with Robert Redford. This is one of those ones up there for sure, though. Bill is not. Alec, have you seen this?
No.
Oh, you guys are this is your homework for tomorrow. If you have time, please watch Bull Durham.
Well, I'm going to be with you tomorrow, so I can't.
I might be working tomorrow.
That's true. Bill is going to be with me tomorrow, and we're going to have a grand old time watching baseball in the Bronx.
Who doesn't like
and go to Brooklyn for the hot dog eating contest.
We could do that too.
Go to Coney Island, go ride the Cyclone, go to the beach, and go get yourself a Nathan's Famous hot dog.
Who doesn't like a Nathan's Famous? You know what, guys? I want to ask y'all something. What do you like better, grilled or boiled hot dogs better? Which one do you like? If you guys are watching this, which ones do you like better? I think this is a good 4th of July question. Grilled or boiled hot dogs?
Grilled.
Yeah, because they have that snap when you bite them. You know what I mean?
Oh. I don't eat hot dogs, so I can't say.
Allie.
I don't eat hot dogs anymore.
It's fine. But yeah, anyways, as I was talking about, Bull Durham, great movie overall, fantastic baseball movie in general. But the baseball season in America has been kicking up for a while now. So why don't we just talk about that too? Before we get to Field of Dreams, you want to talk about The Natural for a sec, Bill?
I haven't seen that either.
You haven't seen The Natural? Oh no. Al, have you seen this movie?
The Natural.
I see National Treasure, but not
The Natural. Sorry, I typed in Natural.
No. But you're now making me think of The Sandlot.
The Sandlot, we'll talk about that too. The score from The Natural is really great too, I will admit. The actual soundtrack, the compositional score is
Doesn't
fantastic.
Billy Joel play that in the beginning of the show?
He does. It's his walk-on music to the show, and it's fantastic. It gets the crowd a little amped up, and it does a good job. Yeah, but Robert Redford killed it in this role. The Natural is one of those movies that it's kind of underappreciated a little bit, in my opinion. It came out in '84. From Sony Pictures, but it's just a great movie overall. Just a great baseball movie about like a guy who just is a natural ball player and kills at baseball just in general. And as I said, the score is phenomenal soundtrack. Not the soundtrack, like the songs, but the score itself is great. Kim Basinger's in it. Glenn Close is in it.
Right now, who is house sitting?
What was that?
I don't know who. That was not me.
What was that?
Someone played something, and then
sorry.
No bueno. If you're gonna do it, just mute yourself. But no, The Natural, great movie overall. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit, more than I thought I did. It's a good, like I said, you go back, you watch it, and it truly is a great just story of a naturally born baseball player, and yeah, just a great movie. Now we can talk about Field of Dreams. Sorry, one second.
And you watched this for the first time this year.
I watched it for the first time, but we try and do a movie commentary of it. But for some reason, my laptop and the storage on my laptop was being stubborn, so we couldn't actually record fully the whole movie commentary. And the same thing happened with Gremlins, by the way. Just want to let you know.
We're gonna have to redo those, aren't we?
We're gonna have to redo it, but not only that, we're gonna have to. Oh, by Mark Son in the chat board said grilled. We're gonna have to do or hot dogs. We're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to get a movie commentary thing going with more storage and stuff on my laptop. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked, but. Field of Dreams, I watched it for the first time with Bill for movie commentary that we tried doing. Great movie. Fantastic. If you build it,
why is NBC Sports saying it's terrible?
Because they're wrong. Just saying. Kevin Costner is. They say it's a bad movie. I don't believe that for a second. I think it's actually a solid movie. Came out a year after Bull Durham. In 88 to 89, yeah.
I remember the day we did a commentary. Then I came back thought we were going to do a spring movie thing, and then you all came and roasted me.
Yeah, the roaster's still coming, bud. Allie's next on the chopping block, but yeah.
I might not be on. I'm working.
We will have you on.
Hey, Justin and I paid our dues. It's your turn.
We can't just roast me. All right.
We'll be there. If we roast JT, we'll be there forever.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, guys. No, but Field of Dreams, fantastic movie from the 80s, late 80s into 89, of course, with Kevin Costner. Just a fantastic film. Bill, do you have anything else to say about Field of Dreams before I go off?
And you remember this, one of the few movies I get emotional at the end during.
You do. You cry a little bit. It's okay.
Hey, Dad, you want to play catch?
So touching.
Hey, remember, is this heaven?
No, this is Iowa.
No offense to the people of the great state of Iowa. We like you.
We sure do. You have the baseball field of the Chicago White Sox out there. Good for you. Play ball. Allie, have you seen Field of Dreams?
I gotta see it.
Okay, great movie. Highly recommend you check it out.
All right.
That covers one theme right there with
Wait,
baseball.
there's one more you forgot. You forgot The
What's it?
Sandlot.
Oh, I'm sorry. You brought it up 1 second.
I brought up The Sandlot, aka the movie that I pretty much have seen through middle school and high school, pretty much about kids playing baseball in the summertime.
Yeah.
I mean, this is your go-to summer movie, your go-to 4th of July movie, your go-to kids movie to watch, even though one of the kids was obsessed with an older woman.
Remember,
hey, nothing wrong with that.
Remember, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
You're killing me, Smalls.
True. And don't forget about the Beast.
Yeah, absolutely. So
And you know what? A shout out to my good friend Danny Boy Reg. This is actually his favorite baseball movie.
Nice, Danny
Mine
Boy Reg.
too, actually.
Danny Boy Reg. We have to have Danny Boy Reg on for our 200th episode come October, November.
Danny Boy Reg, we're waiting for you.
We got you, bro. We're gonna have you on. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna love.
It's gonna be fantastic.
It's gonna be great. Having a Starfield panel again for the 200th episode of Mixed Bag coming to you soon. But
tell your friends, tell your wives, tell your kids, tell your dogs, tell your cats, tell your hamsters, tell your magwas, tell them all.
It's gonna be a big one that year. And later this year, we have a big show planned for that one. So and we'll unveil those plans later on, of course. But yeah. Anything else for the Sandlot before we jump over to another sport, another topic at all?
No,
what's the other sport?
I was gonna say football, but
that's more the fall.
That's true. Let's not talk about that.
We'll save that for the fall.
We'll save that for fall movie recommendations. Well, since we're on the topic of like summer blockbusters and baseball and stuff like that, let's see if Bill can keep his tangent short on this one. But let's jump over to war for a second and talk about Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, you're going Spielberg again.
Why not? Best director of all time, arguably. Bill, I mean, I've seen this movie once. It's very intense, but I know Bill loves this movie too.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
So you actually reviewed it a couple years ago for the channel.
I did on Memorial Day, so give it a watch.
Yes, please do.
And I'm gonna try to keep this short, but
I'm gonna time you. You will only have 3 minutes.
No, I'm gonna go on as long as I want. Anyway,
Alexa, set a timer for 3 minutes.
This is one of my favorite movies. I love it. It's one of the very more realistic depictions of World War II. And that opening scene is just so wow. And we've talked about this too. Veterans hotlines were actually blowing up after they saw this. Because it was so realistic. I remember I read a story in a YouTube comment about someone when the movie first came out. And what exactly happened? Oh yeah, he saw an elderly couple, an older gentleman was crying, and when the movie was over, he said, "Sir, are you okay?" He goes, "Young man, I was there. It is the most realistic depiction of the D-Day invasion. But you know what? It's sort of like more of a character piece, because when you see them talking, it's the more human part of war. It's not just the blowing things up and waiting for people to die. It's also about wondering. It's also about being away from your family. And for those of you who don't know the story of Saving Private Ryan, four brothers come into four brothers were in World War II. Three of them were killed, all of them named Ryan, and there's one left who was missing. And this team set by Captain Thomas Miller, played by Tom Hanks, has to go find them and return him home. And okay, a lot of people say, was this based on a true story? Yes and no. It was actually based off called the Ryland brothers, who three of them were killed. Well, supposedly one killed, one was alive, and then one was found out to be alive. And it was also based off of with the Sullivan brothers, who were five brothers in the Navy who were all killed because they were in the same unit. And this actually was a part of a real military policy called the sole survivor policy. And that is, if a family member is killed in action, they are to retrieve the surviving family member and send them home.
Wow.
And one of my favorite scenes besides the opening is when they go tell George C. Marshall, the chief of staff, the Army chief of staff, real person, by the way, goes, listen, we found these three brothers. They're all dead. Their mom is supposed to get all telegrams today. And there's one brother left. We don't know where he is. We might as well just consider him KIA, killed in action. And then George Marshall looks at this letter and he goes, this was a letter that was written by a Mrs. Bigsby in Boston years ago, so bear with me. And he reads a letter that Abraham Lincoln wrote to a woman named Mrs. Bigsby, who all five of her sons were killed in the Civil War. And he goes, that boy's alive, and we're going to get him the hell out of there. So this movie is just intense. It's emotional. There's a scene when they're just sitting around talking like, you know, my mom would have chatted me up till dawn. And she goes, I knew my mom would have talked, so I just pretend I was asleep. Now, why did I do that? And, you know, and that is the realism of war. I'm sorry, you know I could give a whole doctoral thesis on this movie, JT.
I know you could.
And I just want to say to the Academy, this should have won Best Picture, not Shakespeare in Love, you dumbasses.
Oh, yeah.
Word.
Like, the biggest, worst Oscars upset in Oscar history.
Which we did an episode about, which people should go watch.
Yeah, and you know who would agree with me if he was sitting right here?
Dr. Matt Hemsley.
Dr. Matt Hemsley, because he's Dr. Matt Hemsley.
Our dear friend.
But anyway, I would say this is one of the best World War II movies that is ever seen.
So I got a question, though.
Yes.
Would you consider Oppenheimer to be an American movie?
Huh.
Great question.
You guys want to talk about it, or?
Why
We'll
not?
get to it in a little bit, yeah.
Because we also are going to talk about another, because it's part of the whole World War II thing with America.
Yep.
And it's just, again, it just came out about a year ago. Won Best Picture. Deserved it.
So did Barbie.
We're going back to
saying.
Barbenheimer again.
Barbie deserved to win Best Picture, guys. I'm kidding. Don't worry.
I'm sorry, but you know I'm just Ken. Okay, I don't want to be a
Can
Barbie.
you not? All right. I'm just kidding. Bad
Okay.
jokes are coming out.
Okay.
Anyways, anything else for Saving Private Ryan, bud?
No, but I do have another World War II movie I'd like to discuss, if you don't mind.
Sure, and then we'll jump over to other things too. But yes, go on.
It's actually a very underrated World War II movie. It's called Flags of Our Fathers.
Oh.
I don't
Based on a
know.
book?
It's actually based on a book by James Bradley, who is the son of one of the people who raised the flag at Iwo Jima. And the book goes more into detail about how they all met. They're growing up, how they met at basic. And it's about that famous picture, the picture of them raising the flag. That famous picture of them raising the flag. And it talks about some of the stuff that happened. Like James, like in the book, I'm gonna be also using the book if that's okay. If that's okay with both of you. James Bradley talked about how his dad never really talked about the flag raising. He said the real heroes of Iwo Jima are the ones who never made it home.
Mm.
And it shows about the film, about the aftermath of everything. One of them, who was Native American, whose names I can't, Isaac Hay, I don't know what his name is, but who had struggling with drinking afterwards, and how James Bradley's father all dealt with PTSD after all this, because in the beginning of the movie, he's screaming, "Iggy, Iggy," about a man who was his childhood friend who he enlisted with, who ended up getting killed. And it talks about how this photo gave the nation hope during World War II. And the author of the book, James Bradley, again, whose father was one of the flag raisers, and this isn't mentioned in the movie, but in the book, he writes a letter to his father. It's like the last thing. And he tells him, like, because his father, like every year around like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, reporters would be calling up to interview him. And he said, we were all taught, if they call, just say that I'm on a fishing trip or something. Because he didn't want to talk about it. But in the letter, I remember there was one line saying, a devout Catholic woman, I forgot where, who the only two pictures she had in her house were of Jesus and FDR. That streak was broken when that picture of the flag raising made it on that wall as well. So this movie is just absolutely amazing. I think it's very underrated.
Oh.
And also, JT, I'm sorry, I got one more World War II thing. I lied. I'm sorry.
I have one too. If
okay, how about you
unless
go first then?
unless we swipe right. Hold on one second here. Hold on. Let's see if we swipe
I've already
right.
mentioned my World War II movie.
Well, it doesn't have to be World War II. It could be anything.
Are we talking about the same movie, Bill? That's what
Well,
I'm
it's not a
wondering.
movie. It's a miniseries I was thinking about, but I'll let you
Damn
go.
it.
I'll let you go first.
Born on the 4th of July.
That's Vietnam.
Oh, close enough. Either way.
But hey, we'll talk about it.
With Tom Cruise, my boy, my other dad. Love that man. I am Tom Cruise in another life. Just saying. I actually have not seen this movie, but I know the book it's based on because it was based on a true story of a real Vietnam veteran named Ron Kovac. And how do I know all this? It's because Bruce Springsteen wrote Born in the USA, inspired by the book, who he met the author, and then he wrote the song. And therefore, the movie came out in 1989, a couple years after the album was released. But this is a movie based on that book, on Ron Kovac's story and life of Vietnam. So I thought it was appropriate to bring it up too, and because Tom Cruise delivered in this movie too. Let's be real.
And Ron Kovac's birthday is actually tomorrow because he was
Born on the 4th of July. I just want to say, Uncle Rick, I missed you. His birthday's tomorrow too. He died in 2022. God bless you, Uncle Rick. So my grandmother's brother was born on the 4th of July and fought in Vietnam as well. So he knew it all. Yep. Good old Rick. Love you, Rick.
Rest in peace, Uncle Rick.
And Ron Kovac was grew up on Long Island too, which is even funnier. How about that? My family's from Long Island too, so it makes it even better. Anyways, I just want to shed some light on it for a
Yeah,
second.
because this is actually the story of how Ron Kovac went from Vietnam to anti-Vietnam War activists.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it really shows you what war can do to people.
Absolutely.
All right, Allie,
Me.
What do you got?
could be anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, because those are the only two. I mean, you could talk about Pearl Harbor a little bit too.
I have another summer flick,
Sure.
Sure.
and my dad. And for those of you who don't know, we do the show live every Wednesday night, EST, on the East Coast of the U.S. Live on YouTube. So if you ever want to tune into us live, please tune into us on our YouTube channel. It's simply called the Super Review Show. How could we not talk about this? And the chat board has been blowing up. Thank you, chat board, as always, for bringing up this.
You're all doing great tonight, guys.
They sure are. And they're going to talk about Jaws, Bill.
Oh God, he's never. You're still not gonna let Mr. Mahoney, if you're watching this, you're still not letting this go, are you?
Yes, Bill.
I wasn't there.
Bill, my dad is watching us live right now. Sorry to all of our professional listeners out there, but yes, we do the show live. My dad is watching us live right now. For those of you who don't know about this, we put The Empire Strikes Back over Jaws on our summer movie bracket.
And he never let us forget it.
And because listen, Jaws, let's face it, Jaws stopped a recreational sport known as swimming. The Empire Strikes Back.
As soon as he saw that, he was like,
Go ahead.
It stopped the whole summer activity. People didn't go swimming. People didn't go swimming. From the minute they saw that movie, they stopped swimming.
I mean, it did,
because swimming is a very good form of exercise.
Swimming is a great form of exercise, guys. And yes,
but just don't do it on the beach. Do it in a pool.
Yes, please. Listen, if you want to go to the beach tomorrow on July 4th, do it. Just be careful because there's sharks everywhere. Because if you see Jaws, you'll be petrified.
I'll eat a hot dog on the 4th of July.
Plug for our movie commentary we did of Jaws in 2022 as well. On our YouTube channel, we watched the whole movie, and we watched all of Jaws on Blu-ray, actually. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, Jaws. It stopped the recreational sport known as swimming. Thank you, Steven Troost, for entering the chat board. Oh no, my boss has arrived, guys. My boss has arrived.
Uh-oh.
Troost in the house. Okay, Mr. Mahoney, I'll sing its praises. The movie is absolutely great. And yeah, it does take place on the 4th of July. And you want to know something? It actually, and I've been hearing something very interesting in current events about this. People have been using this movie as an analogy for COVID-19.
Really?
Think about it. You have a summer community in which, the mayor does not want to shut down the beaches. In which the mayor does not want to shut down the beaches. Because, hey, it's the 4th of July. This is our big money maker. And, think about it this way. Businesses that didn't want to, how there were some state officials that didn't want to do lockdowns during COVID.
Correct.
But you got to think about it this way. And this is comparing it to the movie. Like, there is really no easy answer. Like, do you shut it down for safety? Or do you just take a roll of the dice? Or do you just take a roll of the dice and say, okay, here we go, and whatever happens, happens. And, even though that mayor is probably like one of the worst people in that movie, no, I was hoping, you know what, Mr. Mayor, we're going to send you out. Okay, there's the vote. And if the shark eats you, that's a you problem. But you can see from that, because a lot of those summer communities, they really only do business from May to September. They only really do business from May to September.
Yeah, they charge a lot of money because that's their income for the households for like the next couple months, the winter months and stuff.
And the
so.
rest of the year, they're basically pretty much dead. So you can see that argument. But yes, I know, Mr. Mahoney, people didn't go swimming when they saw this movie. And it really brings up a very interesting question. What's more scarier, what you see or what you hear?
We talked about this last time we talked about this movie too. And
Allie,
let's
what
be
do you
real.
think?
What is it scarier to hear something or is it scarier to see something, Allie?
I think it's both.
Yeah, or the
Because
combination's incredible, yeah.
because when you hear the dum 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 dum
Oh, when you hear that, I'm like, you better get out of there. Don't stay in that pool, y'all.
dum 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 dum. John Williams, awesome.
Oh, it's funny that we have a pool, and let's be real. If we put that music on the pool, someone's gonna kill us.
We should do that at your pool party.
Oh yeah, we should.
And then people will hate us.
I won't be there. I'll be working.
No, it's all right. Well, you know, we'll have to FaceTime you at some point, Allie, while we're or call you saying, "Hey, Allie, everyone, it's Allie." Hi, Allie. We'll have a good
gosh.
time with it. So don't worry.
Yeah, on your trip to Boston.
No, it's coming up next weekend, so we'll see.
And
Don't you
then
worry.
and then but then yeah, people were really terrified of this movie. And yes, Mr. Mahoney, I thought it was a great film. So you can, and I know people were afraid to go in the water, and this was actually the first blockbuster.
Hmm. But yeah, it's still, I don't know. Do you call it a summer movie or is it still like a Halloween movie, like a horror movie? Guys?
I don't think it's a horror movie. I think it's a suspense movie.
You think it's a suspense movie?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's like it really is a very tense movie. I mean, it's like they're on the boat. It's a summertime movie, though, for sure. Thank you so much
Oh
for
my
chatting
God.
with us. Chat
And
board's
Josh
blowing
is
up
gonna
tonight.
be 50 next year?
Yeah, it came out 1975.
Oh my God, Josh is gonna be 50 next year. Does that mean we're
That's
gonna do
fine.
another live movie reaction to it?
Well, we already
Well,
did
we already did a movie
commentary.
commentary, but we'll see.
Dun dun.
Dun 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 dun.
And remember, this movie was rated PG.
It's supposed to be rated R. Supposed to be.
I remember the
This is
joke we made in
Spielberg.
the
Why would you do that?
commentary when the shark is just rolling out. The shark is just probably, guys, would you leave me alone? I'm out for my midday swim. I'm out for my midday swim. I'm on a diet. I gotta watch my shark bod. It's beach season. Okay, I warned you. I said fish are friends. People are fair game.
The fish
Fish
are
are friends, not food.
food. Except
People are fair
stinking
game.
dolphins.
Oh my God. Wow, we are on fire tonight, people.
All right. Anything else to say about Jaws?
I mean, I think we hit the nail on the head with Jaws, guys. It's like it's one of the ultimate summer blockbuster films too. Like, I mean, just in general.
Yeah.
I think about it, it's just like sorry. It's a really just a quintessential summertime, not beach movie necessarily, because you don't want to be eaten by the shark, but let's be real. My God, it's just scary.
Spielberg's hitting to fame.
Yeah, and it was what made him a director of a household name. It was the first blockbuster. I mean, Star Wars didn't come out in '77, so can we safely say that all the Jaws sequels are terrible?
Yes,
Jaws
the tagline
2,
for
3.
Jaws 2 was cool.
What was the tagline?
Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
Mm.
Yeah, that's Universal's way of saying, like, hey, guess what? We have a different movie to talk about. Jaws 3, Jaws 4. There was even talk of Jaws 5 at one point.
Didn't like Back to the Future Part 2 have Jaws 6?
Jaws 36 or something like that in Back to the Future Part 2.
Six.
Yeah. Jaws 36 because it's a Universal movie. What other things we got, guys? What other movies or TV? You got a TV series, Bill, right?
I actually have 2 American TV series to talk about.
Was it The West Wing? No, I'm just kidding. What do you
Oh,
got?
yes.
If
We
you
can talk
want to
about that
talk
in a
about
second.
that, we can.
No, you go first. Sorry, I cut you off.
Okay, the first one is a mini series as we talk about World War II. It's called Band of Brothers.
Band on the. Sorry, wrong one. Just kidding. What do you got? Go ahead.
Okay, this was actually produced by Tom Hanks after Saving Private Ryan. This was about Easy Company, the U.S. Marine company during World War II in the European theater. There's also one in the Pacific called, well, the Pacific. And it's all about, it's all about just it's all about their, just them going through war and then just going through, all of it. And I haven't seen the show in a while, but you know what episode actually made it actually really, I still remember to this day?
Which one?
There is an episode when they're in this part of Germany and they see a fence with wire on it.
Really?
And what was that?
Really?
Yeah, and they go, and one of them go to the commanding officer going, Sarge, you got to see this. And it comes back and it sees people. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you folks. It was a concentration camp.
Yeah.
Like this episode sticks out to me. And they're like trying to get them and it's like, okay, boys, give them blankets, food, water, any rations you have. These people need care. And the episode is called Why We Fight. And they're like, and like the prisoners are coming up to one of them. They're just hugging them. Like they're so glad they've been rescued. And there is a scene where they say, where they get one of the officers to translate them. And they're saying like the Nazis knew we were coming. So they shot whoever they could and left. And they said, well, who are this group of people? First, they use the word undesirables. And then they say Juden, which means Jews. And wow, that episode just hit me,
Yeah. Is that Ryan? What's his name? From Friends?
Yeah, that's Dave Schwimmer.
Dave Schwimmer. Yeah, that's what I thought.
He plays like this captain that nobody likes.
Oh, it shows that he can do other things too outside of just being from Friends.
Like I remember when they see him in another episode, said, Captain, remember, we salute the man. We salute the uniform, not the man.
The man, the myth.
And it talks about Easy Company and then till the end of the war. And then I didn't see the other one. It's called The Pacific, which is about the Pacific Theater. And this was I gotta watch it. I gotta watch The Pacific one of these days. But yeah, Band of Brothers, I remember really liking it. It's a good show. I don't remember the whole series, but still, I highly recommend it. And it's based on a true story. Easy Company was real. Okay, anybody got anything else?
Let's see. Let me think. I don't know. We talked about baseball. We talked about war. We talked about history. Did
History. Did you think about Katy Perry?
What's that?
That's the only thing. Katy Perry by Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, you want to talk about music for a little bit?
Well, I actually do got one more TV series.
Go ahead, Bill. What do you got?
It's another mini series. It's called the Kennedys.
The Kennedys. On
I
TV.
think you know what it's about.
The assassination of all three of them.
Well, it's about the Kennedy. It's not just about JFK. It's also about the Kennedy family itself, because not too many people. The first episode starts off during the 1960 election, but it also gives flashbacks to. Not too many people know this. JFK actually had an older brother named Joe Kennedy Jr. What was that, Allie?
I didn't know.
You didn't know that?
No.
The more you know.
And Joe Jr. was basically the apple of his father's eye. Like, he was the one that Joe Sr. had all the dreams, all the ambitions for. And Jack was just sort of, why can't you be more like Joe? Why can't you be more like Joe? Like, he was the one that envisioned Joe to be the president. And like, there's a scene when because Joe Kennedy was actually the ambassador to the UK. And Joe and Jack are in the office with Joe Jr. and JFK are in the office, and JFK is helping him write this. They're giving him suggestions for a speech. And then one of the assistants says to Joe Jr., goes, "Hey, that Jack is really sharp." Going, "Yeah, he's cool, but Joe's the one who has the ambitions." But then it shows JFK when he was in, because at first when Joe went off to war, JFK, because of some medical condition he had, they actually exaggerated his medical records so he could get a desk job. And he said, "No, I want to go to war." "Okay, fine, I'll pull some strings." And he was lost for a while. And then he became a war hero and was found. And then there's some tension between Joe and Jack, and Joe goes back to war, and unfortunately he gets KIA'd. So after Joe Kennedy Jr. died, it gets passed on. The Kennedy legacy gets passed on to JFK. Because there's a scene in the episode after Joe Jr. dies, and Joe Jr. says to him, "Jack, your brother's gone now. It's up to you to carry the mantle of our family." And he goes, "When the war's over, you're running for Congress." He goes, "But Dad, I don't want to." And he goes, "Well, too bad. You're going to do it. You got to live the family name." And it shows JFK running for Congress. It starts off rough, but then he ends up winning the congressional seat, and it shows him meeting Jackie, and then it shows him running for president, and it shows his presidency, of course. And then there's an episode, and then it shows, of course, Bobby Kennedy, and we'll get more to him in a second, of how he was the attorney general, how Joe Jr. wanted Bobby in the White House to keep an eye on him. And it goes into things like the civil rights movement that JFK got the ball moving, the Bay of Pigs invasion, and of course the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Of course, how can we forget?
Which JFK saved the world at that point. Come on, let's all admit that.
Bravo, JFK.
Like, we were this close to going to nuclear war. We were that freaking close. And it shows the tension with him and Jackie. Jackie, who's played by Katie Holmes. And and Joe Sr. is played by Tom Wilkinson, rest in peace. And then, of course, it shows the JFK assassination, unfortunately.
Mm.
But it really shows you that the mantle of the Kennedy family went from Joe Jr. to JFK. And then when JFK was shot, it goes on to Bobby.
Bobby,
Goes on to
who
Bobby.
did it go to?
But you know what? I'm going to say, I think this show kind of screwed Bobby Kennedy over a little bit.
You think so?
Because it just shows, in the episode about the assassination, and there's one more episode, one of Bobby's daughters is sitting there on the swing crying because, her uncle was just killed. And Bobby goes over to console her and says, and she goes, Dad, does this mean you're going to be president now? And then he looks into the eyes, and then he looks into the camera like, is it my turn? Then the next episode, it's sort of about Bobby. It goes from when he ran for Senate in 1964, and then boom, before you know it, he's running for president. Like there was so many things in between that. Like you could have just ended with the JFK assassination and then had the next season be about Bobby. But there was a next season. I'll talk about it in a second. It's called The Kennedys After Camelot. And like you could have went with so much more. Like you could have went with, Bobby's time in the Senate. You could have went with him when he went to defend Cesar Chavez. That moment was absolutely not a lot of people talk about it. Didn't talk about in this movie. When he flies to California for a hearing on labor rights and the people that Cesar Chavez are leading, and the sheriff is testifying, and I remember he said, and I remember this go, well, we arrest them for their protection, and Bobby Kennedy goes, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, we arrest them so they don't get attacked. And do you let them go? No, they stay in jail. And he goes, what? And he goes, well, this is all very interesting. So you arrest people for their protection and you don't let them go? And then he goes, yeah. Like the sheriff's just sitting there talking like it's no biggie. And he's like, you know what? We're going to break for lunch right now. Okay, he didn't say these exact words. I need to recover from this stupidity. He didn't say that word, but I'm sure he was thinking it. And he says, you know what? And, whilst we're on lunch break, Sheriff, I suggest you go read the U.S. Constitution. You might learn a few things. But no, it didn't show that. And of course, probably one of the most important speeches in American history. Let me give you some context here. It's April 1968. Bobby Kennedy's running for president. He's speaking at the University of Notre Dame. He gets report that Martin Luther King had been shot. And then he didn't know if he was alive or dead yet. And then when he gets to Indianapolis for a campaign event, he goes, yeah, he's dead. Maybe you should cancel your event tonight. He goes, no, I can't do that. And I said, well, and one of his staffers wrote him a speech about it, and he just ripped it up and said the speech is garbage. And he actually wrote the speech on his way to the event, and it ended up being probably the best speech of his career. Mm-hmm. And I remember because there's a part when he says, I know a lot of you are feeling resentment. I know how you feel. I had a member of my family killed too. And of course, he's talking about his brother. And he said, but what we need in the United States is not anger. What we need in the United States is not division or violence or lawlessness. What we need in the United States is love, compassion, and understanding. And This is how important that speech was. Other cities that night were on fire. But Indianapolis stayed calm because of Bobby Kennedy.
Mm.
And
Wow.
and I'm so upset that they didn't put that in there. Like, it just goes from when he ran for Senate, he wins the Senate, he runs for president, they show him losing the Oregon primary, then going to California, and then we all know what happens, unfortunately. My thanks to all of you. Let's go on to Chicago and let's win there. And he gets shot and killed. But his last words were actually to his wife Ethel. They're like, she's like, Bobby, Ethel, is everyone else okay? And that really shows you what kind of person he was. He cared more about the safety of everyone else than himself. And it really shows you that Camelot's over, because it shows that Jackie Kennedy is at the graves of both the president and Bobby. And her chauffeur goes, "The car is waiting for you, Mrs. Onassis," which, for those of you who don't know, Jacqueline Kennedy, after JFK died, she got remarried to Aristotle Onassis. And then there's a sequel series called The Kennedys After Camelot, which I've only seen clips of. And that goes from post Bobby Kennedy to Chappaquiddick, when Ted Kennedy drove off the ocean and killed that young lady. Jackie Kennedy adjusting to life without her husband. Ethel now adjusting to without her husband. Ted Kennedy's demons. JFK Jr. growing up. And it goes to when JFK Jr. was killed in a plane crash. So, yeah, I think they really screwed the pooch on that one. Like, you could have done the whole second season be about Bobby, because you just went, okay, Bobby ran for office. He won the primary. He died. Done. Over. Thanks for coming. Good night. Like, they could have done so much more with this. They really could have. I'm sorry. This gets me really... as I sit here and rant about people who've been dead for over 50 years.
It's all good. It's all good.
I still recommend the series. It's a very good insight into American history, into President Kennedy. It is a very good insight. If there's any people who are into presidential history, I highly recommend this series.
Word.
Okay. Anybody got anything else?
The chat board's been bumping. I will.
You know what? Why don't we go to the chat board tonight? What do you think?
Want to make this one the last one while we're at it too, guys?
Say.
Let's make the chat board the last one. Someone in the chat board, Mark Son, brought up Amistad.
I never heard of that.
Have you heard of this one or no?
I've heard of it.
What is it about? I'm sorry.
Slavery.
Oh, all right.
You to try America, trying to get his freedom.
I have not seen this movie, so I can't really justify whether or not.
Me neither. I'm sure it's a good film.
I'm sure it's a very powerful movie too. It kind of sounds like Glory almost, like from with Matthew Broderick too. Reminds me of
And
that.
Selma, which
What's that?
rights.
One more time.
Selma.
Oh, Selma. Yes, it reminds me of Selma too. Yep. I haven't seen this one, but I mean, I might have to watch it at some point. It's very seems very intense.
Mark, so I'm sorry if we didn't see it, but thank you for giving us a recommendation.
It's got Morgan Freeman and Matthew McConaughey in it. So that
sold. Morgan Freeman sold.
And Jamon Hansu in it. Sold, absolutely. Anything else? I think we're good.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. We're good, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to thank
Justin
you
for
watching and listening. How are you? Enjoyed us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in as always. I want to thank the two panelists as always for doing this podcast with me. You guys did an incredible job as always. Bill and Allie. Justin couldn't make it tonight, but that's all right. Thank you so much for joining for the both of you.
Thank you for having us.
As
Anytime.
always.
Wait, having us, we're always here.
Exactly. You're always here. Don't you worry. And we'll be back next Wednesday. We want to apologize for last week. Last week there was no mixed bag because we had a severe power outage around us, and
Oh,
we
there
just
were people who saw it though.
yeah, there was a bit. I deleted the show though because it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. So I'm glad we got back on track with our mixed bag show. Happy July 4th to all of our American listeners and viewers out there. We salute you.
Speaking of, we gotta
We can't hear you.
we lost Allie. There we go.
Oh wait, she's
Sorry.
back again. Allie's
Yeah.
back.
I don't know what happened.
What do you got? Bill, you have something else you want to say too, right? Some
Yeah,
podcast
Sports
thing?
Insanity Net podcast, the Sports Insanity Network. Check us out. We're on all platforms.
Yes, and baseball season's in full swing, so please, yeah, don't worry, guys.
Before you know, it's gonna be football season.
Sooner or later, we'll see. Thanks so much for watching us. But for all of us at the Super Review Show, stay safe
Take care
and be awesome.
and happy 4th.
And happy
And
4th of
God
July.
bless America.
And God bless America.